Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
2020, the Some Good News edition. And we begin with that story as Boeing finally gets some good news as the 737 MAX is cleared again to fly. Obviously, COVID-19 has decimated the travel industry, but at the FAA's ongoing, or rather order grounding the aircraft following 2 fatal crashes, has removed one major obstacle. The pandemic still sits in its place, but at least Boeing has got through the approval process. This, remember, was 2 crashes, management claiming it wasn't their fault, it was employees, it was actually the customer usage, lying to the government, directly appealing to President Trump not to ground the fleet, finding innumerable problems in the manufacturing process, more lying to regulators, but today, finally some good news. So congrats to Boeing for finally getting through the process, cleaning up their act, and having the 737 MAX cleared to fly again. Next up, you may not have known this, but as reported in the Houston Chronicle, Chevron is still in Venezuela. They are there based upon an extension until June 3rd of its authorization to carry out essential transactions in the company to preserve its assets. It is unknown what's going to happen under the Trump administration, however. Chevron argues that it's insane not to have someone in a country that has one of the world's largest supplies of oil in the ground, even if it's coming out at a drip now. So it's going to be interesting to see under the Biden administration if they toughen sanctions more than the Trump administration has had by having no transactions with U.S. companies. Chevron has been in Venezuela literally forever, and I think they want to stay there so they'll be positioned if a new regime takes over or some type of change is made, that they'll be able to resume operations and eventually get paid something, although what, who knows. Next up, from the New York Times, there's a separate Jeffrey Epstein investigation at Victoria's Secrets. An internal review started after his ties to the company were revealed have not produced any public findings. Some employees question whether workplace issues have been properly addressed. A new law firm is going to start this investigation. It's Davis Polk. And it's going to be interesting to see now that the new query has begun, whether or not Davis Polk was the original investigative firm, whether they will be replaced or whether there'll be another firm come in as a partner or work separately with them. In a email obtained by the Times, the firm was investigating allegations raised in shareholder demand letters, civil complaints about the connections between Victoria's Secrets, its owner, L Brands, and Jeffrey Epstein. So the Epstein saga continues. It's unknown what's going to happen in this second investigation. And then finally, Apple, who has for years said that they could not cut their fees for developers, has slashed its commission fees to developers in its app from 35% to 15%. So see, Apple, it can be done. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.